Hello and welcome to Car Retrospective, where I guess we can say it's Season 3. Do you like the revitalised look? Literally the only difference between the past episodes and this one is the background. It's the third anniversary of not only the first episode in this series, but also the first public video on this channel, so I thought a rebrand would be nice, and I also began to get sick of the old one anyway, so enjoy some plain white. I feel like it's a lot cleaner looking. Either way, today we're examining one of the most iconic cars wherever you come from around the world, though rather more so if you're of the British sort, the Mini Cooper. Let's have a look. The story of the car begins in the mid-50s with the Suez Crisis. Obviously, being a politically fueled conflict, it's very complicated, but in short, it began when Israel, followed by UK and France, invaded Egypt to regain control of the Suez Canal. But with political pressure from both the US and Soviet Union, the three countries had to withdraw. This eventually led to fuel having to be rationed in the UK. This meant that now once-mocked bubble cars from countries like Germany and Italy were being mass imported due to the low cost for running, and there were no solid British alternatives. At this point, the future of British motor production was looking bleaker by the day, so to regain strength in the automotive market, Leonard Lord, the head of BMC at the time, wanted to create a brand new bubble car but more modern, cheaper and most importantly, British. The main goal of the project was to match and surpass the quality of the then new Fiat 500, a very popular car especially in its home country of Italy. So a group of designers set to work creating this car, although specific specifications had to be met. For example, the car had to fit within a 10x4x4 feet box, the wheels had to be no larger than 10 inches, and the engine had to be sourced from a pre-existing car. Original prototypes were constructed in a unitary form, i.e. the car was just one singular mass, not different parts. However, these prototypes failed under heavy loads, and so the unitary form was replaced by more conventional steel frames. There was another problem though. The designers simply could not create enough room inside to be comfortable. But then came a brainwave in two separate parts. Firstly, rotate the engine 90 degrees to a transverse layout and mount it in the front, and secondly, have it be front wheel drive as opposed to rear wheel drive like you'd find in the aforementioned Fiat 500. All of this saved valuable space. The engine was shoved up and confined to the front, and the floor could now be completely flat as there was no need to accommodate the drive shaft to the rear wheels underneath. In the end, all these difficult design criteria were eventually met, and the Mark I Mini, which was marketed as both the Austin 7 and the Morris Mini Minor at the time, was released in 1959, with 4 seats managing to squeeze inside. With space to spare, it really was a miracle. The car wasn't too successful at first, with people questioning its design, part of which was concerning the engine. Originally it was to be fitted with a 948cc engine from the Morris Minor, but Leonard Lord thought the 90 mph the car would reach with this engine was far too excessive for its size, so it was instead fitted with an 848cc engine, only able to achieve a more manageable 72 mph, able to do 0 to 60 in 27 seconds. However, after it was exported to countries like the US and France, sales of the car steadily began to rise, especially after certain celebrities purchased models. Sales began to rise even further when the company decided to take the little tag to the racing circuit, the most notable of these being of course the Monte Carlo Rally. This was a prestigious event held in the mountains way above Monaco and France, and it's fair to say that a lot of people didn't think that this little box stood any chance of victory against the likes of the Ford, Saabs, Mercedes, Ferraris and all the other competitors, and at first it really didn't, with a string of unsuccessful first years. However, after legendary racer and tuner John Cooper came around and improved the brakes and upped the engine output from 72 horsepower from the 1 litre displacement, the Mini Cooper S was born. Mini returned to Monte Carlo in 1964 and would go on to come out on top not once, not twice, but thrice in 1964, 1965 and 1967 when it won the rally. It would have also taken the 1966 rally with a 1-2-3 podium finish, but all the Minis were disqualified for using the wrong type of headlight or something completely monotonous. Who really cares? Being that the Monte Carlo is mostly snow and ice, the front wheel drive system of the Mini saw it have amazing grip and handling, meaning the lower power output wasn't really an issue. And it wasn't just the Monte Carlo that the Mini dominated, it also conquered the Finnish 1000 Lakes Rally in 1965, 66 and 67, it won the British Rally Championship in 1962, 1963 and 1970, the European Rally Championship in 1965 and 66, the Finnish Rally Championship in the same years, the first ever rallycross race at Liddon Hill was the Minis, it had multiple championship victories in the British Saloon Car Championship and even a victory at the final ever Finnish Grand Prix in 1963. It's abundantly clear that the variation and consistency of the Mini in motorsport showed that it wasn't all about horsepower. The Mini was nimble and light enough to be effortless to throw around, but at the same time built in such an efficiently compact way that it handled like a cloud. All of these victories, you may have guessed, were incredible publicity for Mini. Despite the car having a slow start, sales began to skyrocket and the tiny little compact car became an icon for British motoring. The design of the car itself became timeless. Literally. The original classic Mini was manufactured for a staggering 41 years from 1959 until 2000. Now, for any car, that is a long time, but consider this. Here's a Mark I Mini from 1959, and here's another Mini, a Mark VII, this time from 2000. Despite being built over 4 decades apart, there really isn't much distinguishing the two. And it makes sense, BMC landed on the jackpot with this thing, inspiring many other small cars for the years to come, so why change it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Of course, small changes and improvements did have to be made over that period of time. The Mark II would come along introducing a new grille and larger rear window, the Mark III featured an upgraded body shell and doors, the Mark IV brought along a redesigned subframe, you get the picture. Usually when you look at the generations of a car, you can almost instantly tell what period it's from because of how distinct it looks compared to both its predecessors and successors. The Mini? Nah. Obviously, this rigorous sticking to a tradition may appear to be a little bit lazy or downright bad management. Surely you have to move with the times. When new super minis like the Ford Fiesta and Renault 5 began to appear, British Leyland knew they'd have to find a replacement to stay in the loop. The Metro was introduced in 1980 to do just that. It seemed promising at first, a new fresh take on the Mini that actually looked unique and more suitable for the time, but ironically the Metro would cease production in 1998, a whole 2 years before the car it was meant to replace. And over the years, the Mini has seen its fair share of variations and special editions. There was an estate, a van, a pickup truck, an army grade off-roader called the Moke, and the Clubman featuring a newly designed front. With the 1275 GT version of said car being the only sporty Mini available for a long period throughout the 70s. There was of course the aforementioned Cooper and Cooper S models, but by far the coolest edition of the original Mini was the ERA Mini Turbo, produced by English Racing Automobiles as the name implies. The turbocharged engine, the only original Mini to feature one, made a whopping 94 horsepower with a top speed of 115 miles per hour. Sure, it sounds like nothing, but remember, at this point you're sitting in a box not much larger than something you'd find your morning cereal in. And yes, that is a wide-body Mini you're looking at. Shame they didn't make more of them, as the ERAs are becoming insanely rare nowadays. It was obvious, there was no getting rid of the Mini, it was an everlasting icon. However, when BMW bought Mini and its parent company, Rover, in 1994, work began on a radically new take on the Mini. And no, I don't just mean the usual looking Mini with some interior and mechanical updates, I mean a truly new Mini inside and out, suited for the 21st century. BMW did allow the Mini to continue production as is until October of 2000, when the final model, a red Cooper S, rolled off the production line at the Longbridge plant after 5.3 million units had been shifted before it. But talk now turned to what the new Mini would be, and when it was first unveiled there was a mixed reaction. The Mini purists sorta hated the thing. The main source of complaint was to do with the size. I mean, it's hardly Mini, is it? Well, compared to the original, no, not at all. But cars have been getting bigger since 1959, and I think the only way the Mini would have been able to stay afloat is with a bit of fattening up. Plus, compared to most other cars on the market at the time, the new Mini truly was, well, Mini. However, even with this controversy, the new Mini picked up where the classic one had left off and became an immediate sales hit. It was fitted with either a 1.4 or a 1.6 litre powerhouse, and a soft-top version was introduced in 2005. The Cooper S name was also brought back, with a supercharged 1.6 litre sat up at the front making 160 horsepower, a true successor to the Titan that took the Monte Carlo in the 1960s. The new Mini would also go on to birth quite a few concrete variations. A diesel version arrived in 2007, the Clubman arrived in 2008 as an elongated take on the base Mini, the 2013 Paceman was a crossover variant, but the most interesting would be the Countryman. A four-wheel drive off-roading take on the Mini fitted with the new all-4 system. It would go on to take on the rallying circuit just like the Cooper S had done back in the 60s. It never saw a win in the WRC itself, but it did go on to claim victory 4 years in a row at the Dakar Rally. Any sort of win at an event like that is not only a bragging right but an excellent form of advertisement. Those four wheels have rarely been put through their paces. And of course we can't end this video without mentioning the John Cooper Works Mini. Named after our favourite John Cooper, this thing also harks back to Mini's racing heritage from the 60s, and it had the works: a more powerful engine at 208 brake horsepower, an improved exhaust system, performance tyres, brakes, traction control. You name it, it probably has it. There was now a distinct family of Minis, whereas before it was more centred around the original Mini itself with slight variations between versions. Now there was a base Mini, there was the sportier one, the diesel, an off-roader, a fast cousin, and for some reason they also built a one-off Mini with the front of a boat called the Yachtsman. Whatever floats your boat, Mini. Whatever floats your boat. And there it is, the Mini. I mean, come on, you can't think of British auto hey, actually, scratch that. You can't think of Britain itself without this thing popping up at some point. Despite what a lot of guys will tell you, bigger isn't always better. The Mini was a tiny little box, yet it managed to maximise its space to sit 4 people comfortably. That sort of thing is relatively unheard of, even today. Mix in a successful history of motoring victories, and it's no wonder the Mini came second in the Car of the Century Awards, second only to the Ford Model T. Fair enough, but let me ask you this. Have you ever seen a Ford Model T flying about the tracks of Monte Carlo in snow and ice? Didn't think so. Thank you so much for watching, with a very special thanks to Ben Wright and Bryn Palmer, who are very generously donating at the highest tier on my Patreon. Just £1 a month is an amazing help, and I also have a Discord server and an Instagram page, links in the description below. Again, thank you for watching, and take care.